our previous section, we talked about the metric system, where we can use different prefixes to make a base unit either smaller or bigger, depending upon the dimension we're trying to express. However, as I said, there are multiple systems in use, particularly metric system and either US customary units or British imperial or English, however far you want to go back. And in order to be able to convert between them, we can't just move the decimal place because it's not based on a pound to the power of 10. And we have to use things called conversion factors, where you say one thing equals another. In order to use these conversion factors, however, we have to get the units to line up so that the ones that we don't want go away and the ones that we do want come and stay at the end of the problem. So in order to do that, we're going to use grids. Now this is a skill that will be imperative for you to learn, because not only will we use it for converting, but we'll use it for talking about moles later on when we get to chemical reactions, and you'll use it in physics next year, converting things like miles per hour to meters per second, things like that. So, lots of words here. Rather than go through these, I'll just jump straight into the example problems, and I'll just talk you through the steps. Likewise here. Okay, so for instance, how many millimeters are in 5 centimeters? So in any kind of conversion problem, you'll always be given a number and a unit to start with. So in this case, I'm going to start with 5 centimeters. C is the abbreviation for centi, and M is the abbreviation for meters. Now, I want to go from centimeters to millimeters. Now, if you're familiar with the metric system, down here, each one of these numbers, those are centimeters. So if we had 100 of them, it would go up to a meter. So we only have a little over 30 here. However, if you look at these small lines, each one of these small lines is a millimeter. So you can see that within 1 centimeter, there are 10 millimeters. So 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So in order to convert, already you can see we just go to 5 centimeters, we multiply it by 10 millimeters per centimeter, and we should get 50 millimeters. However, if it wasn't an obvious one like that, we would set up our dimensional analysis grids. So the way these work is we'll draw a horizontal line and we'll draw a vertical line. Now, some teachers might just use a dot and then a fraction to multiply and divide, but it doesn't matter. It'll be the exact same thing. I learned it by grids, so that's the way we're going to do it. Now, the major point of dimensional analysis is that whatever unit you have here, you place it in the next denominator. So there's never any guessing about what to do, because whatever is here goes in the next denominator. So I want to go from centimeters, centimeters. I'm trying to convert from centimeters to millimeters. Now let's say I have no idea how to go to millimeters. Okay, but we should have knowledge of the metric prefixes such that I can go from centimeters to the base unit and then from the base unit to millimeters. So we can go from centimeters to meters. Now all we have to do is fill out the powers of 10. Already in our example from the metric conversion section, we said to use a 1 for the bigger unit, in that case meters, and then the smaller unit gets the positive power of 10. So you go to your chart, centi, 10 to the negative 2, we make it positive, it's 100 centimeters. All right, great, but we don't have millimeters yet, we're just at meters. So that means we need another section of our grid. We'll extend that. Now our centimeters are algebraically going to cancel out, leaving us with the unit of meters. This meters goes down here. Notice I'm not bringing the number necessarily. I didn't take my 5 centimeters and put it down here, because then we would have just been dividing by the same thing, and that makes it 1. All we care about here is the unit. We'll fill in the numbers later. So I want to go from meters to millimeters. Since it's going from the base unit to something with a prefix, we can do that. Now the prefix for M, milli, is abbreviated M, so millimeter is mm. Filling in our positive power of 10, meters is big, while millimeters is small. So 1 meter. And then we're going to give milli the positive power of 10. So instead of 10 to the negative third, we have positive. So that is 1,000. 1,000 millimeters of these little guys right here in a whole meter. So you could count all of these up. That would give you 1,000 if this was a meter stick. Now, meters cancels out, and we're left with millimeters. That's the unit we're looking for. Once you have that unit in your numerator, then your conversion stopped. Everything else is just math. Now, the way these set up, they're just like fractions, all beside each other. So everything in the numerator, we multiply. Everything in the bottom, the denominator, we divide. So in your calculator, you would do 5 times 1, which we don't have to waste time doing, times 1,000. Now we're going to divide by everything in the denominator. So divide by 100. Then we have another 1, so we don't have to worry about that, and enter, and we get 50, which is exactly the answer that we said we should get, since 1 centimeter was 10 millimeters. This conversion factor is the same thing we did here, because this 1,000 cancels out with this 100, this becomes a 10, this becomes a 1, and there would be 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter, which we already said, because we could visually see that, as opposed to seeing something other than visually. So our answer here is 50, and do not forget your units, millimeters. The whole point of this was to get this unit. So I'd hate for you to do all that work and then to leave it off. Let's go ahead and skip down to this one with mass. So we have 25 grams. We want to go to kilograms. So 25 grams is our starting number and unit. 25 grams, G is our base. We want to go to kilograms. So we draw our grid. Grams goes in our denominator. This is a base unit. We can convert directly to something with a prefix. Kilo is a K. Now we already worked this out for kilometers, but we give the larger unit a 1, that's kilograms, and the smaller unit gets the positive power of 10, which is 10 to the third, so we have 1,000 grams. Grams cancels out, leaving us with kilograms. Now we can multiply across the top, divide by the bottom. 25 divided by 1,000 gives you 0.025. 0.025